Hello class, welcome to lesson 11 where we are going to be talking about three concepts: absolute value, magnitude, and distance. Now all throughout this module and further in your math classes you're going to be looking a lot at this term called absolute value. But let's go ahead and jump right in. I'll zoom in to the first half here so you can get a good copy of that. Oops. Go ahead and pause it right there. Then the second half. Have to zoom out a little bit. That covers all of it. Now I know this set of notes is a little bit longer than we've been used to so far this module. However, don't let that fool you about this concept. I do think it is something that we can get pretty quickly. So the question we're going to be looking at today is this. What is absolute value and what is magnitude? Simple enough, right? We're just defining these two words. Absolute value here in our definition is the distance between that number, whatever your number is, and 0 on a number line. So remember the key here is the word distance, right? So it's going to be the distance between whatever number we're looking at and 0. Magnitude is very much related to that absolute value, but it speaks a little bit more to the real world application. So the magnitude is the quantity that the absolute value represents. So it's the actual tangible stuff that the absolute value is talking about. Now, it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense without an example, so let's scroll down and take another look at absolute value. Here we see the height of the rim is 10 feet from the floor. What is the absolute value and magnitude of the rim's height? So here we have our integer of 10 feet. So this is the number we're talking about. And the question is, what is the absolute value and what is the magnitude of the rim's height? So we'll go ahead and scroll down and take a look at how we find the answer. If you recall, the absolute value is the distance from 0. Whatever that integer is, it's the distance from 0. So because our integer is 10, here's our number line. If our number line starts at 0, here, if you see the 0, but 10 is our integer, all we have to do is count how many units 10 is away from 0. So we start at 0, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we know that it's 10 units away from 0. So 10 would be the absolute value. Here we have 10 units away from 0. Therefore, the absolute value is 10. However, the magnitude speaks to the real-world application. And the magnitude is 10 feet above the floor, because in real life, that 10 that we're talking about represents feet above the floor. Now, I know that seems very simple. And you think, well, what's the point? If we know that the number is 10, it's obviously 10 units away from 0. However, the distance portion of that definition is going to come into important play, especially when we're talking about negative integers, which we will get to in many of our examples. But I want you to take a look at this remember section now, as it's very important. Absolute value is written as two straight vertical lines with the rational number between them. So let's take a look at negative 10, for example. This is kind of our second made-up example, where I demonstrate to you how to use symbols to do rational numbers. So these two lines that go vertically and they are straight represent absolute value. So if you're looking at this question, really just what I circle here in orange. This is the question part. And it says, what's the absolute value of negative 10? Let me come off to the side here and show you an example of the way we would do it with negative integers. So if we've got a number line here, we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. Over here we've got negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and let's say negative 5. And the question asked, what is the absolute value of negative 5? And you know that absolute value is what we're talking about here because we have these straight vertical lines surrounding the negative 5. We do the same thing that we did on the basketball example, or the hoop example, the rim. We start at 0. Let me find us a good color to count by. We'll start at 0, and we will count all the way to negative 5 and see how many units we count. So here we are at 0. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the absolute value of negative 5 is 5. That's your answer. Okay? If you look back here, the very last bit of these notes that's underlined in the remember section is right here. Oops. Absolute value is always positive. When you take the answer to an absolute value question, it will always be positive. Okay? So in our example here, with the hoop or the rim being 10 feet off the ground, our answer 10 is a positive 10. All right. Our answer down here, where we see this example, where it's showing you the absolute value of negative 10 is 10, positive 10, right? And then if we come over to this example on the side, same thing. If negative 5 absolute value is what we're working with, the answer of 5 is also positive. Alrighty? So we'll get to practice it a lot more, and I think it won't be too challenging for us after maybe a day or so of working on it. So hopefully we can answer this question now. What is absolute value, and what is magnitude? Thank you very much. Goodbye.